Right now, we just let them fight each other while we expand our territory. And then when nobody's looking, we slide right on in.
You won't make it very far.
We can't keep going to war.
Tommy Egan is on a mission to avenge the death of Liliana, and with the Flynn organization weakened, he's more determined than ever to take over the Chicago drug world. Now, this is the part of the synopsis that I do think we need to focus on when it comes to breaking down the Flynns in the lead up to season 2 of Force, including what we've seen from the various teasers and trailers. Tommy's going to be on a mission to find out it was Claudia Flynn who killed Liliana, but something seems to have weakened the Flynn organization, which will give Tommy an added incentive to become the king of Chicago. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down the complex dynamics of the Flynn family, particularly the intricate relationships between Walter, Vic, and Claudia. Intertwined will also be Tommy's influence and various other characters like Uncle Pauly and possibly even Dublin in Power Book 4 Force Season 2. In Season 1, we were introduced to the Flynn organization with Walter Flynn as a leader. Uncle Pauly was his right-hand man, put into a position because he was his brother-in-law. He served as someone who would give Walter Flynn a voice and an opinion when he needed to hear it. Not that Walter Flynn bothered to listen to, that is. Vic ran the streets and he had Claudia do the books. Each player had a specific position, but it was clear from the beginning Walter's traditional ways of doing business set the tone for the complexities in his relationships and also hindered the Flynn organization. Tommy presented him with an opportunity to change the game in Chicago and put the Flynn organization back on the map. Sales were at an all-time low and that meant profit was the lowest it's ever been for the Flynns. But despite their cash flow problems, Walter Flynn still stuck to his old traditional ways, more out of pride, stubbornness, and racism. This wasn't a vision that was shared by Vic or Claudia, who understood the streets were changing, and if they didn't adapt, the Flynn organization would die with Walter. I also feel Walter Flynn did feel threatened by Tommy in Season 1. I think he was interested and a wee bit amused by him, maybe because he got his back up a little bit, and he's a reminder of himself in some ways. Walter sees Tommy and thinks, I know that guy. Tommy got under Walter's skin because he came to Chicago and played by his own rules, but Walter believed that this was his city. Tommy also took both Vic and Claudia under his wing during different stages in Season 1. He was pulling them up rather than keeping them in positions which suppressed their talents and ambition. Now later in the season, I do think Walter Flynn began to realize Tommy wasn't going away, so maybe it would be best to bring him on board within the Flynn organization, where he could possibly keep a closer eye on him. Unfortunately for Walter, this was rejected and caused him further problems with Vic, which I'm going to come to in just a moment. Now going into Season 2, something will bring Tommy and Walter Flynn face to face once again. And I recently described these two coming together is like seeing fireworks. They clearly don't like each other and this conversation will be another mind warfare. With Walter Flynn, it's also well known he's suffering from cancer.
Stage 1 small cell lung cancer. Walter, we're catching this really early. This is nothing like what happened with Maeve.
Now, how long does he have left and what's his next move? This is a man who's slowly turning into someone who has nothing more to lose. He's lost his kids at the end of Season 1 through his own manipulation. His empire is crumbling and he's also close to death through lung cancer. This is one of the many reasons why he's trying to mentor and nurture Vic into becoming the leader of the Flynn organization. But this preference for Vic to take over highlighted a gender dynamic within the Flynn family. He had a belief that only men could lead the family business, which created tension between him and Claudia. Now, her exclusion from more important decision-making created this frustration and resentment. Claudia's ambitious and cunning, and she wants to so badly have the throne right. She has an absolute love for her family and loyalty, but at the same time, there's a lot of friction and a lot of anger that's building up inside her. I think even by the end of Season 1, it's just the beginning. She's a slow burn. So Claudia's always had this desire to contribute and make a mark within the family business, but it's always been met with resistance and rejection from Walter. Now over time this fueled a sense of bitterness but also ambition. She started to run her own hustle with Tommy, which was Dahlia, a designer drug that was taking the clubs of Chicago by storm. Now this is the way Claudia can really make a mark in Season 2, although it is yet to be seen whether Dahlia will even play a part. Janard was supposed to be in business with Claudia, which doesn't seem to be the case by him being face to face with Miguel Garcia. So we're just gonna have to kind of wait and see whether Claudia can actually make Dahlia work without someone like Tommy, who really was the brains behind the distribution and operation along with Liliana. Now, Walter Flynn's differing treatment of Vic and Claudia within the family also created a bit of a sibling rivalry. We know Walter favorites Vic, but because everybody had differing opinions on how they should run the street operation, as well as their personal lives, this contributed towards a rivalry and the overall complexities of their relationships. The Flynns could never find common ground on a business and a personal level, and the end result was actually catastrophic for some. Hidden between the lines in Season 1 was Walter's use of manipulation to control Vic and Claudia, but this backfired in the most horrible way possible. We just spoke about Claudia's move behind Walter's back with Dahlia. There was also Vic's move with Diamond and Tommy, but Walter's attempts to orchestrate an advantage over Vic included targeting Gloria. This highlighted his determination to maintain control and dominance, but again, this only backfired, and he was left on his own with only Uncle Pauly by his side.
We can try and control everything with our kids. But love's a fucking tornado, Walter.
Uncle Pauly's role really can't go underestimated. He was there for Walter Flynn at every single turn because he took an oath to the family, although there was a few doubts around his loyalty when he was targeted by Agent Vargas and Kayla, but him shutting them down proved why he's such a valuable member of the Flynn organization, which I also expect to continue on into season 2. Now, whether he can step in and help mend these relationship, who knows, but we do see Walter entering Claudia's apartment in season 2 of Force in the official trailer. I also think it's a well-known fact Walter can't run his operation without his kids. He needs both Vic and Claudia. Whether he can get Vic and Claudia back on side is yet to be seen, but we've got Walter Flynn approaching Claudia at her penthouse, so he definitely will try. I also feel Claudia does still need a father in some way, because let's not forget who killed Liliana. At some stage we're going to see Tommy getting to the bottom of the truth with his gun to Claudia's neck, but it is way more complicated than him just pulling the trigger. Him just killing Claudia is just way too simple, and we know Power love to throw surprises, twists and turns and completely flip the script at a drop of a dime. But this is a complex story that will be at the forefront of Tommy's mind as the synopsis teases. He's on a mission to avenge the death of Liliana. With Vic Flynn, it does seem like he's turned to alcohol because the death of Gloria is still going to be fresh. He had dreams of living a life away from the control of his father, and he was close. He was very close to leaving town until the Serbs came in and killed Gloria, which was retaliation for Walter Flynn killing 3 Serbs in cold blood. Tommy did also warn Vic take his car and use the back roads, but Vic was naive and thought Tommy was looking out for himself, which cost him dearly. So Vic won't just be back to square one, he's worse off. He's lost the love of his life, he's done with his father, his business relationships are broken with Tommy and Diamond, so where does he go from here? Now, Walter Flynn may be the boss in Chicago, but he answers to bigger bosses in Dublin, and so I do think this is worth a small mention. Dublin did send the 4 horsemen to help Walter Flynn deal with Tommy, but they were cleaned up by Tommy, the Serbs, and Liliana killed the 4th. Now, death has consequences in Power. Pauly also once mentioned that they don't have the manpower as they once did to go to war with the Serbs. So the Flynn organization is weak, muscle-wise and financial-wise. So the Flynn organization better keep their head on a swivel when it comes to Dublin, the Serbs and whoever else. I also wouldn't be surprised if they took us overseas to Dublin like they did with Tariq, Braden and Effie going to Milan. There was a Dublin sign in the first teaser that was released, so let's see whether Tommy takes a trip overseas. Now, one thing's for sure when it comes to someone like Walter Flynn, despite him facing an uphill battle with his kids and his organization, he's a man who has pride, tradition, and the Flynn blood runs through his veins. So Walter Flynn will not go down without a fight, and I wouldn't totally bet against him recovering and even coming out on top. The problem he has is, there are way too many external factors that are out of his control, like Vic, Claudia, and Tommy. You can only control so much. But moving on to the final point, could we see Walter Flynn's brother?
Of course, that fucking arsehole, he drank himself to death. Left me and my brother on the streets of Glasgow. 2 Belfast boys and Catholics.
So it was mentioned in a conversation in episode 7, Walter Flynn has a brother, which I don't think was such a coincidence. Now, one example I think is worth mentioning from recent times is Unique mentioning he has a brother. His brother Ronnie was upstate for the rest of his life, but soon after season 2 they released Ronnie Mathis' character description with how he was going to be introduced in season 3 of Raising Kanan. Power do this where they do drop subtle hints about characters that they could introduce in a later season. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, maybe for season 2 or for the future of Force. But with that being said, that's a breakdown of the Flynn family. A family which has a very complex dynamic, which will no doubt face further complications in season 2. So drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section on Walter, Vic and Claudia. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.